Welcome to Convo Fango. I'm your host, Ivotres Littles. Today, I'm joined by director and star of Orphan First Kill, William Brent Bell and Isabelle Fuhrman. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Oh my goodness. I am so glad to see you guys. That film it had me shook.
Oh, good. That's good. That's what we want.
Yes. Desired response.
Yeah. It was very intense, and it just really draws you in. So this is a prequel from the 2009 version. And because there was a lot of unanswered questions and people want to know, and I wanted to know, I was like, we need to bring her back. So I'm so glad that happened. William, when you got the script, what was your next step with this? Because she was phenomenal in the first one.
Well, it was like, how do we fill the shoes of Esther, if not with her? And before really it became much of a discussion, she reached out to me when we announced the movie on Instagram, and we were friends on Instagram, but we didn't know each other. And that it just so happened that night I was having a screening, and I was like, come to the screening. And then she showed up. It's the first time I met her in person. She walked in and she looked the same. She just was a little scaled up. But like, if you looked at me when I was 12 and I was 24 or, 23 at the time, she was 23, like I looked like a different human, but she looked so similar. So it was pretty amazing. And then she made it clear to me how passionate she was about playing the character, which I didn't necessarily expect. And so from that point forward, for me, it was like, okay, we can do this. Now let's just figure out a way to push it through the system. And that took about a year,
Oh, wow. So, Isabelle, reprising a role, Esther, she was iconic. It was so many twists and turns in the first one, and this one was flips and circles and wild. I absolutely loved it. Reprising that role, was there any challenges bringing that back, or something else you wanted to bring to Esther?
I think the biggest challenge for me was that I just trusted Brent, that he was going to be able to make this work, that, I knew that acting wise, that I could totally step back into those shoes. I could reread my script that I had made when I was 10, when I was doing the first one, and all the little notes I'd made. I knew that as an actress, I could step back into her and find her again. I think more so it was like, how do we physically make this work? Because obviously I'm not 10 years old anymore. And that was kind of the easiest part for me in the last one, is I was a kid playing an adult, passing herself off as a child. And this time around, I was an adult actually trying to pass herself off as a child. But we had such an incredible team that Brent put together, everyone from our costume designer making the costumes fit me in a specific way. We had two doubles, Kennedy and Sadie, who were me from all these different angles. Kareem, our DP, lit everything. And it was Brent who really just believed in me from the beginning. And so I knew I could do it. I felt like I was in really good hands. And when I saw the movie the first time, I remember I was like, what? It's crazy.
What I really did love about this version of Orphan was the in-depth story of Esther. Like, you really knew who she was and what she was capable of. And how was that? Because, the first one, it was just like, she's there, this is what's going on. But this one was just so in-depth. So, it was just, wow.
I feel like in the first one, because you're dancing around the secret, she's an enigma. You have no idea who she is. You can't figure her out. And that was part of the story. And this time around, what I loved is that we got to fall in love with Esther a little bit. And Brent, who loved the first movie, was such a fan of it. Like, that was something he totally leaned into. And from our first conversation, he was saying, kind of like the Joker, like, I want you to be able to love her a bit. And so for me, it was wonderful because I loved this character when I played her when I was 10, but I remember we reshot the ending to kill me because all the focus groups card cards came back saying kill the bitch. So that was kind of like, because people were so terrified by Esther.
Yeah.
And what I love is that through the years, like everyone's started to love this like horror icon that we created. And here we get to come back and bring her back and allow the fans to love her actually. And that is really cool. I think when people see the movie, that I'm excited.
And it's fun because loving her, like we know that what she's capable of. So we know that like at any moment she could revert back to her killing ways. And it's like, when's that going to happen? And are these people on the other side going to expect it and be prepared for what she does? So all of it was really a fun way to look at the story and a different side of her, which was, I think it's what's most fun about the movie.
Yeah. William, I really love all the close-up shots. They, different angles that you have, like you can really see the emotions that Esther had. Like you got to feel the feelings that we never got a chance to. The sadness, when she was crazy, when she was angry. Was that all intentional, with every angle intentional, that we get to get inside Esther's head this time?
Oh yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the story spent a great deal of time trying to explain away her entire life's history. Mm-hmm. It was more seeing a different side of what her life is like. And in this story, at certain times, if things were a little bit different in the story, she could have a happy ending. People were respecting her for her art, which was something she's not used to having people do, and her heart was being broken. She was losing friends, sort of, in the form of an animal, and so it was really important that we see how her heart's kind of being broken, because to me, it's fascinating. She mentioned Joker, but being able to see kind of behind the veil of a sociopath and understand that they might be messed up and they may make decisions that are bad and they deserve to be in prison for them. But you also get to see how the world has treated them a certain way that maybe would lead them to having tough decisions. And in her case, she has this tough life with this condition where people kind of have always looked at her as a child. And in this story, especially when she has to dress up like a child, I really always got a kick out of the idea that, she doesn't enjoy dressing like that necessarily. It's like she's playing a character. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes she wants to take off that wrap and rip out the ponytails, pigtails, and just have a glass of wine, but she can't do that, because she has to pretend to be a kid. So, the close-ups were very important in this movie because she doesn't have anybody to talk to about it. So it's all about the acting. It's all about the expressions on her face, that get it inside her head.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I really did love is that it's almost like she has a supernatural gift, even though she's very young, and obviously she's like 30-year-old woman. But it's almost a blessing and a curse for her. And I love how we really see the dynamic of that coming alive from the moment we see where she is now until the very end. And you're just like, she really doesn't like being what she is, but she has no choice, and she uses it to her advantage. Isabelle, for that, how was it tapping into that? It feels like a double side that you had to play.
Yeah, that's what initially intrigued me about Esther so many years ago. And it's what I loved about the script when I read this one, and to come back and step back into her little ribbons was to get into who she is, into those sides of her that are more vulnerable, into that humanity that we didn't get to see the last time, mm-hmm. and into that sort of role that she's taking on, because it's easy to forget because so many people know Esther as Esther, but her real name is Lena. And in this movie, you're watching her take on the role of a lifetime. And no, but really, this is what kind of became Esther from the movie that we've already seen. And so for that, there was room for me as an actor to kind of play in this unfamiliar territory where she doesn't know her character yet. She's learning her on the fly, and she's absorbing everything around her and learning from Trisha, Julia Stiles' character, and learning from this family. And it really kind of shows you why in the next movie she's so much more manipulative in certain ways, and why she's way more specific about certain things. In this movie, you know, you really get to see her maybe not always on her front foot, on her back foot. And to me, that was really interesting as an actress to play this character that in the last time, like I said, nobody could figure her out. And this time you're allowed to sit inside with her and actually get to know her. And what a uncomfortable and fun place to be as an audience member.
Yes, this one was very gory. This one was in your face, get down. We're not going to hold back. William, how it looked like you just went for it. How much fun was it just bringing those gore elements to life?
Well, great, because, you know, the story it's a bit different, and we're in her shoes, and she has kind of one hand tied behind her back. She can't do everything she wants to. She has to show a certain amount of restraint to survive for a lot of the story. And so for those moments when she does kind of explode and revert back to the violent Lena, I wanted those moments to just, you know, I wanted those two worlds to be very different. You know, one is a very beautiful kind of idyllic, wealthy family's world, you know, that's almost too perfect. And then when she unleashes on somebody, it, you know, we remember how vicious she is, you know. Mm-hmm. And so that was the plan. That was always really fun, is just to take, you know,
it looked like
killing somebody. Don't just stab them once, stab them as many times as you can until you collapse, which is what she did.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun.
When we were filming that scene, they had like a fake dummy, obviously. I remember after the first take, you know, I'm just like covered in all this fake blood. And Brent just goes, I was going to call a cut, but you just kind of kept stabbing at it. So I just kept it going.
Yeah.
It is all that aggression that she's taking out on Gunnar. You know, there is something like, I think in a sense, there's something more earned about when she unleashes on this family this time around, because she's been holding this back for so long.
Yeah.
And I think
they're toying with her. Yeah.
Yeah. The audience is really going to just be like, yeah. Cause I think in a sense you get to root for Esther slightly in this movie, even though you also are terrified of her and know that she should probably be in prison.
Man, to see the side of Esther and then to see everything unfold out on screen, I was so shooketh. Because I was like taking notes and I was like, what? Like it just like it came out of nowhere, but it made sense. Mm-hmm. How was that? Just either of you, like, how was that just bringing back something that she's such an icon, and want to just, you know, break it down, show what we got, just go for it, just like give it your all. The performances, the casting, I mean, William, it was just, man.
I'll say a small thing, and I'll let Isabelle really respond to that. But for me, that was one of the great things about doing this movie when there was an original, because when in doubt, and when there were questions about casting other characters, it's like, wait, let's look at the original though. Like, look how amazing that cast was. We need to live up to that kind of style and tone and talent, which is exactly what I think we did. And Julia Stiles as Trisha, you know, is like a perfect example of that. And,
yeah.
And,
it was so nice seeing her again. I was like, where's she been? She's great.
She's so good. And I'm such a huge fan of hers. When I saw that she was cast, and I was like, what? Because obviously I grew up watching her in every movie. And like, then I'm sitting across from her and I'm like, this is so cool. I get to watch one of my favorite actresses work, and she's I can touch her. She's so close.
I mean, there was even one point I was more terrified than her of her than Esther. I was like, whoa, okay, where did this go?
Yeah. There is this sort of like All About Eve kind of relationship that they have, that, you know, where Esther's like infiltrating her family, but she's just, just as smart as she is. And I loved having that cat and mouse sort of game with Julia that we got to have. Because I think at the end of the first movie, you get a little flavor of that when Kate comes home is trying to, save her family. But with this movie, you really get to see these two women like manipulate and mess with each other. And
for their family.
And this whole family, yeah, because they know what, like, she finds out about Esther earlier on, and you get to play with that, and that's fun. It's fun for the audience. It's fun for me. I think this time around, revisiting this role, revisiting the movie, I felt like we got to play so much more with different things, and you kind of get to lean into the fact that if you're a grown-up woman and you're pretending to be a kid all the time, like Brent said, sometimes you just want to like steal a car, light a cigarette, and like let loose for a little bit. Like you're tired of putting up with all this shit and you just want to like let it go. But you can't do that all the time.
Yeah, you might go to prison.
Yeah, there's that.
What do you hope that the audience will take away from this orphan first kill? Because when I could tell you what I took away from it, I was like, oh, okay, I see where we're going. We're bringing back the slashing. We're bringing back the dynamics of a character. We're understanding. We're getting in the head. It was just so fun. So what can you say the audience? That's what I brought back. But for your version, like, what would you hope that they come from this?
Oh, I hope that the audience gets to, I think when this movie came out, it was very successful, but it gained this like love and cult following through the years. And I think my hope is that our audience who has fallen in love with this character will relish in the fact that they get to love her and root for her at the same time as being scared of her, at the same time of being put back into that kind of nostalgic world of where they were when they saw the first movie. And I think so many people that I know that saw the movie saw it, like most of my friends saw it when they were in like middle school, high school. And to see them see the movie again, I'm really looking forward to hearing what they think. I'm also hoping that Cardi B and Pete Davidson and like Miley Cyrus, who all are huge fans of the first movie, watch it, and like shout out if they ever want to watch it with me. I'll totally watch it with any of them. I was like, how do I put this out there that I totally would love to watch the movie with any of them and just talk to them about it.
William, any last words that we should like get shooketh again?
I mean, this movie was made, I would say, for the fans, but it's also made for me as a fan of Isabelle and of Esther. Not just the story, not just a movie, but a character. Mm-hmm. And characters like this live on in movies, like in movie franchises like this. It's not all the other characters that live on. It's not even the stories change, but it's that villain, really, that we fall in love with and we want to root for. And so this was the movie where we get to kind of root for her, and hopefully, just it being a surprising, entertaining experience that leaves you kind of happy that you went to go see the movie.